Welcome to What the Flick. Ben Mankiewicz, Christy Lemire.
Hi.
From the Associated Press, Matt Atchity from Rotten Tomatoes. You are watching America's most informal movie review show.
We could not be wearing shoes, possibly. It's exciting.
We could not be wearing pants.
We might not be. Ben's not.
Who needs pants?
All right, so a couple of interesting movies, very similar. We have 127 Hours. It's Danny Boyle's first film since Slumdog Millionaire. And then we have Due Date, Robert Downey's first film since Iron Man 2, unless I'm forgetting something.
No.
But that's not really significant. So also Zach Galifianakis in Due Date. But the movie that is more interesting, certainly will be more interesting to Academy voters, I'm guessing, is 127. Thank you very much.
For the cinematography and nothing else. The Grand Canyon shots are lovely.
Breathtaking. So 127 Hours. This is a totally interesting story.
This is about James Franco being trapped beneath a boulder for 127 hours. It's about as high concept as you can get. Let's take a look.
Good morning, everyone. It is 7 o'clock here in Canyonland, USA.
Hey, Aaron. Mom still has not heard from you. Will you just call her, please? I'll talk to you soon.
And this morning, on the boulder, we have a very special guest, Aaron Ralston!
Oh, gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Hey, you lost? I'm a guide. What'd he say? See, I'm something of a big and hard hero.
All you have to remember is that everything will be okay.
Oh my God! Are you okay, Aaron?
Come on! You gotta come down here!
It's been nice knowing you, man.
I can do everything on my own.
See ya!
Bye. I don't think we figured in his day at all.
Hey there, Aaron. Is it true you didn't tell anyone where you were going? Oops.
This marks 24 hours of being stuck. I've been chipping away. Want to keep warm than anything. I have about 150 milliliters of water left, which should keep me alive till tomorrow night, if I'm lucky. So that's it. Mom, Dad, I haven't appreciated you as I know that I could. I love you guys, and I'll always be with you.
See in the trailer, part of the trailer that we showed you there, it's a pretty powerful story, and there are not a lot. The trailer included almost as much time for the supporting actors as they actually were in the film. This is pretty much just James Franco.
Yeah, you pretty much saw all of the stuff prior to the boulder accident.
Totally.
You pretty much saw it all right there.
Yeah.
Like you see him running around with Amber Tamblyn and splashing and having fun. Like it lulls you in for a little while. And you see him at the height of his powers. He's sexy, he's funny, he's a little dangerous. And then he gets trapped because he's dangerous. Because that whole hike with a buddy thing eluded him that day, and he didn't tell anyone where he was going, and so he's trapped. And it's fascinating because he's essentially stagnant for 5 days straight, and yet because it's Danny Boyle, this movie has so much movement to it. It's so vibrant and so alive, and I mean, if you know the story, you know how he gets out. I don't want to give it away because not everyone knows. I mean, I don't want to give the details away.
But I think a lot of people know how Aaron Ralston got out, right? The arm didn't make it with him. right?
Yeah.
I mean,
But I don't want to give away the details of the gnarliness of it. Thank you,
Right.
spoiler alert, people.
right. No, this is a gnarly. This is tough. I mean, this movie is not for the squeamish.
Can we discuss the faintings?
Uh,
The masked coast-to-coast faintings that are going on?
So you came in here today, Christy, and you, in your sort of dismissive, cynical way that
Yeah.
you reporters are.
Yeah.
No, you thought it was.
I tend to be that way.
You thought that this was an urban legend that people are fainting during the film.
No, I think there were a few faintings. I think there are probably not the mass coast-to-coast faintings that are being
No,
reported.
well,
like
I-
all the Blair Witch yackings, people running out yakking in the middle of Blair Witch. That could not have happened nearly as frequently as we all thought it did, right?
I don't think there's any question. I saw the movie a couple months ago at Telluride, and there were, I think, 3 screenings of it. I saw the third. The theater, big theater, packed, and no question. I kept being told that people fainted at the first 2, not by people who'd make it up, by people who were there. Movie stops, people come out. Nobody fainted at mine, but, and what probably is happening as people see this around the country, there is a stream of people who leave, like 2 people sitting to my right. As soon as as we begin the process of the severing of the arm.
Mass squirming, just thinking about it here.
You could hear it. People were like, okay. Right? And there
they
must
know
have
it's
been
coming.
30, 40, 50 people, a huge theater, who just left. But nobody fainted in my screen.
Yeah, I was in the front row of the screening room at the Fox studio, and I was like in a little ball with my hands over my eyes. It's
Right.
very graphic
Right.
because it's
Well,
Danny Boyle. And
right.
look at Train Spot,
right.
and look at Slumdog.
Right. You get lurid detail, and again, as people know, those people who know Ralston's story, it's not like he was there with something easy, right? It's he had his little cheap multi-tool.
Yeah.
And
he left his Swiss Army knife,
right,
which is good
his
for
little
cutting
cheap
off
tool
a limb.
that he'd already dulled down trying to
Chip away at the
chip
boulder.
away at the boulder.
Yeah. I did not find it. Here's what I found the squeamish part: the breaking of the arm.
When he
That
first
was-
When he broke
shoves it in and hits bone.
and then he deliberately breaks it
Okay.
so that he can cut through it without hitting bone. Right? That's why.
Well-
That's theoretically why.
Well, right, because he knew that his tool wasn't going
Wasn't going to cut through bone.
Wasn't gonna cut through
so he had to
bone.
break the bone so he could cut around the bone and essentially sever his arm.
I would have
What's
guessed,
gross about that?
Yeah, I would have guessed the whole movie probably freaked you out, though, being claustrophobic as you are.
No, it didn't. I am incredibly claustrophobic, but that did not bother me.
The movie is not that claustrophobic. That's
No,
one of
it's
the things
not.
I thought
Right,
about.
that's
is
right.
It's
It
really,
isn't.
it doesn't feel that closed in.
Because it takes you outside the canyon.
Takes you outside, and
hallucinations and
well,
memories.
and it's shot with these real. A lot of it. You get a lot of long shots that you get the sense that he's. The only part where I got really claustrophobic is there's a scene where there's a rainstorm and you start thinking, oh God, he's gonna, it's going to be a flash flood and he's gonna drown. That's the part that to me that was the scariest part as far as the danger he's in. But at no point do you feel like the walls are closing in on him. I never felt that at all.
The claustrophobia didn't bother me. The grossness didn't bother me. The breaking of the arm was an eye-averting moment for me because causing yourself that kind of pain. The somehow cutting off the arm, that felt like I was impressed. Like that was like, man, I hope I'd have the courage to do that. I also think for people who are now afraid to see it because they'll get grossed out, I actually don't think it's Danny Boyle. Yes, he brings you the graphicness, but he doesn't overdo it. I mean, when he starts cutting, those shots, they move. They move quickly. There's no like dwelling and focusing on knife into skin and blood. I think it's knowing what it is more than actually seeing what it is.
And imagining what kind of pain
imagining
that
the
must
pain
be.
that must be, which is my problem.
Well, he
with the
very
break.
effectively, as there's certain parts he's hitting, hits you with quick shots and noise and makes you feel.
Yeah, the noise is tough.
Yeah, I mean,
The
but
snapping of the bone.
That's what that
crunch.
was.
It's a
among
crunch,
other things,
actually, yes.
among other things. But it's right. But it's not like Bruce Campbell hacking his arm off in Evil Dead 2. It's not quite the same.
It all goes back to Evil Dead 2, doesn't
Exactly,
it? Nice segue
exactly.
there.
So how do you make a movie like this, Christy? How did Danny Boyle make a movie which is essentially one guy, in the way that, what was the Ryan Reynolds movie where he's stuck in the coffin? Buried. Unlike Buried, which fails, how does this movie sort of manage to be, as I think people will think it is, as expansive and big a movie as it is when it's James Franco for more than 90 minutes with his arm stuck in a rock?
I think a lot of that is because James Franco was an amazing actor and would be easy to underestimate because he's so pretty. He's so good in this, and the role lets him show off the full range. I mean, you saw in Pineapple Express how funny he can be.
Right.
You saw in something
Saturday
like
Night Live, he's been funny too.
Yeah, I saw something in like the James Dean movie, which made him a star. The depth of his potential for brooding and despair. I mean, he gets to show the whole range of it there. So he's great.
Has he even been on Saturday Night Live, or did I just make that up?
He might have been.
Yeah, I think I made that up. Though.
All right. We'll edit
He
it
has?
out in post.
Yeah, on Saturday Night
Booth
Live.
says yes.
Yeah, I did, and he's funny. So
So
I'm sorry.
he's great, but also, I mean, it's Danny Boyle, so it moves very well. He has this very kinetic signature energy to all of his films, and he goes outside the canyon. And what I said in my review, my lead is that it's shot kind of beautifully. Like it kind of makes you want to go and like see middle of nowhere Utah. It's gorgeous.
Take a friend.
Find a buddy. But it just. Yeah, it's all his memories, all his hallucinations, and you really get to know who this person is.
Matt, did you agree? Did you feel?
I
sense that you're slightly less enthused.
No. I really enjoyed this movie. You know, I think it does a good job focusing on one person. You know, it rather than just stay on him in the little canyon, you know, you get some flashbacks. You kind of see how he ended up there. And I found the video camera bit a very effective device. How you would get the point of view of the camera as he's talking to himself, as he's leaving the messages for his parents, as he's convinced he's going to die. And the really effective one for me was when he was talking about when he's playing his little game show,
Yes.
his little talk show
very
thing,
funny.
right? And he talks about, and you see him acknowledge how bad an idea it was
Right.
for him to go hiking by himself. And actually, at that moment, it made me think of the Anthony Hopkins movie, The Edge,
I love the Edge.
where Hopkins talks about, you know, the reason people die in the wilderness is because of shame and despair.
I love that movie.
But he's almost about to die in the middle of nowhere because he's arrogant.
Right.
Right.
Because he thinks he's invincible.
But I found it very powerful that he acknowledged that. That he, you know, when he had that moment.
Anthony
where he goes,
Hopkins has that
"Oops."
arrogance in The Edge too.
Yeah.
I thought that the best part of the movie was the video camera, because it enabled, I think, the audience to be removed from the idea in any way that this was an actor with movie cameras behind him and his arms not really stuck, because we'd see him shooting himself. So it sort of let Danny Boyle explain that this is, again, the whole time you're thinking this is what the camera would see. And I think it sort of put us in the moment in an incredibly effective way. And I don't know why in this movie that would have, I think, bothered me. I would have thought more often than I did, he's not really stuck. This is an actor. I think it's incredibly hard to do that in a movie like this when there's such limited action.
Right. Plus, it makes sense that this person of this age would go on this trip by himself
Totally,
and bring
yeah.
his video camera.
Right.
Because there's just inherent solipsism. Like, I'm 26
Right,
years old and
right,
I'm
right.
awesome, and let's go chart how awesome I am on video.
They
makes
wouldn't
sense.
let me use the word solipsism on At the Movies.
Really?
Yeah, they killed it. We had to reshoot something where I
Did
used
you use
solipsism.
navel gazing instead?
I did not use navel gazing. I don't remember what I said.
Take it back. Take it back now.
Yeah, exactly. He is a solipsistic guy.
It's a great word.
It is a good word. I didn't like this as much as you guys did,
Okay.
because I didn't like Aaron as much,
Oh.
and I did not come up with much sympathy for him. I mean, let me explain. I didn't like, oh, good, you got your arm stuck and now you have to cut it off.
Yeah, haha.
I just mean this guy wasn't a guy that I identified with. That's probably the wrong way to say it. It's just not a guy I cared that much about.
Doesn't he have an arc, though? Don't you see the change that happens? Doesn't that make you care more towards
That
the end?
felt like a movie arc to me. Like that, where they removed me from it was with the video camera, but that still felt like an arc, as opposed to, I think, what I would have appreciated more, or what would have perhaps resonated more, is just a story of survival, no matter what kind of guy he was. And I felt the arc actually took me out of the moment, because it took me into, we're making a movie, which is why. And I may have been hampered, to be totally honest, by the streams of people leaving, because that constantly reminded you that we're seeing a movie, because here's this
Interesting.
audience coming past and literally having to move to get people who just
Right.
couldn't. I must have been, no exaggeration, it must have been 40 people. And then when I went to the bathroom in the middle of the movie, the lobby's filled with people who couldn't see it, and they're waiting for their significant others to come out.
Right, so the moral of the story is please stay in your seat for the maximum optimal viewing experience for the whole
Totally.
audience.
Stay
It's
in
just
it.
selfish to leave.
It is selfish to leave, but it is. I mean, getting
It
it
is.
it's not
I
that
agree.
gross. It's not. The idea of its disturbing nature is bigger than how actually disturbing it is, I think, or greater. Don't you think?
I agree.
All right, ratings.
9.
Wow.
It's awesome. It's top 10 list. It's great. I think it's a total Oscar contender for
I think it's-
cinematography, best actor. I mean, I could think of a couple other people who are major best actor contenders, but he's definitely up there.
Real quick, who are they?
Colin Firth in The King's Speech.
Yeah, definitely.
Jesse Eisenberg in Social Network.
I'll buy that. Impossible to argue with.
I give it an 8.5.
Oh, Sean Penn, maybe. I'm sorry.
8.5. I would have liked to seen a little bit more. I would have liked to seen a little bit more about his recovery, and a little bit after being trapped.
Can we get one more spoiler alert really quickly before we give the final ratings? The audio on the spoiler alert was fantastic. Okay, so I saw it again at the Telluride Film Festival, and Aaron Ralston was there, and he spoke after the film, or before the film. And the next day he was going hiking, so he couldn't stay for the movie.
That's kind of fun.
So he's got his nub, but he's totally fine. I'm sure people will see him. Some people will see him on talk shows and sort of doing this. But he is a remarkable guy, and he was humbled by it. And so that makes it interesting, and so just that people know that, and there he was. He was healthy, wealthy, and wise, and he's funny.
Yeah. I understand that he's like thrilled by the depiction, the Danny Boyle.
Yeah. Oh, I think that, he looks great at it. I mean, yes, he's sort of incredibly arrogant, but it's the arrogance of youth. It's not a cruel arrogance. He would never hurt anybody else.
No.
Anyway, I gave it a 6.5 because
Wow.
I thought it was very good. I would recommend people see it. To me, it's not going to crack a top 10 list.
Wow.
I don't think. I feel bad now because I feel shamed now. I feel like I should have a higher rating, but I'm comfortable because
Ostracized by your peers.
totally. That brings the overall rating though on 127 hours to an 8. So that's still
That's good.
Still
I janked it up.
highly recommended by us.